as I said, we've been taught that once you get into a beautiful relationship, be married, you're going to be free and live happy. But the question is, what is freedom in marriage? What is happiness in marriage? Because happiness is the input, that is the output of the input that has been made to be happy. We've grown up looking up to the people living in happy moments, basically about looking up to the happy moments, and we thought that those happy moments are what describes life. Hey friends, and welcome to the Unpack Show podcast with myself, Johannes Baloyi, and thank you for joining me, because this is a place where we unpack the question we have in mind on the challenges we come across as we go about building and improving our lives. Friends, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you can be notified when we release a new episode. You know, looking back to where we come from in life, we wanted it so bad to grow up and be independent. And this is solely because of we've been taught that when we grow up, we are going to be free in life. We've been sold the illusion of freedom. And right now, we have grown up, but we are not free. We keep fighting challenges each and every single day. That makes it hard for us to be free. And we keep questioning ourselves on day-to-day basis that when will we be free? And that's why I've come to realize that chasing freedom is the same reason why we are not free. And one of the reasons why we are so restless in life, it is because of the idea we have of freedom. We've been taught that we should finish our matric, further our studies and graduate, and our life will be set. We've been taught that we should get into beautiful relationships, be married, we're going to be happy and be free in our marriage. We've been taught that we should start businesses and be our own boss. We've been taught that once you have grown up to be independent, your life will be set. This was just a far-fetched dream. It's all an illusion. Because of a lot of us right now, we've finished matric, we've graduated, we don't have jobs. Others do have jobs, but still find it difficult to be free in life. Because of when we grow up, we were still young. We didn't know anything about life. We were looking up to our parents, up to certain people in our community who've got material things, and we thought that those people are free. And right now we've got jobs. We've got a lot of responsibilities. Others, we come from disadvantaged background where we have to take care of our parents. And now it is becoming difficult for us to do the things that we desire, the things that we do with our own money. But it's only because of we are now responsible to taking care of our families. That's why we keep questioning ourselves that we've been told that once I finish matric and graduate, get a job, my life will be set. But yet my life, it's not set. Others, as I said, we've been taught that once you get into a beautiful relationship, be married, you're going to be free and live happy. But the question is, what is freedom in marriage? What is happiness in marriage? Because happiness is the input, that is the output of the input that has been made to be happy. We've grown up looking up to the people living in happy moments. Basically about looking up to the happy moments, and we thought that those happy moments are what describes life. And I often talk about this, that looking up to people being in happy moments, we've misunderstood that to have to made it what is life, because we thought that those happy moments are what describes life. But reality is that that is not the genuine happiness, or I would say that is not how life is. Happiness is just the moments that are being made, but there is life other than happiness. There are times whereby things are not going exactly how we want. There are times where those squabbles, those arguments where we don't agree to each, or where we don't agree on certain terms. And we ask ourselves that I've been taught that once I get into a marriage, into a beautiful relationship, I'm going to be happy. But where is that happiness? We've been taught that when you get into a relationship, into a marriage again, you are going to be free. But there's no such thing as freedom in that. Because of when you are in a marriage, when you are in a serious relationship, each and everything that you do, you have to hold yourself accountable. If if you get out of the gate, you have to report as to where you are going, what you're going to do, and when you'll come back. And if you don't come back at the same time you promised, you have to hold yourself accountable as to explain why didn't you come at the same time that you were told that you said you will come back at. And if you got out of the gate and say that you're going to do certain things, if you are out of the gate and you are not doing the things that you said you're going to do, you have to hold yourself accountable as to what exactly were you doing when you went out. Because of you never said that you're going to do the same thing that you did. You said that you're going to do another different things. So one thing that I've came to realize about relationship, specifically being in a serious relationship, being in a marriage, one thing that I was taught that it is important, it is communication. Because of communication determines how far you will go. Communication determines the quality of the relationship, the quality of marriage. Because of the reason why a lot of us as young people, we find it difficult to settle into relationships, because of we don't know communication. We lack communication. We lack holding ourselves accountable into a relationship. That's why when you get into it, we ask ourselves that, where is the freedom that we've been told about? Where is the happiness that we've been told about? And of course, another thing about that we've been taught about life, about the illusion of freedom again, is that go and start your own business and be your own boss. But what is starting your own business and being your own boss if you want to build a business that will outgrow you? Because I've actually recognized that there are two different types of people according to how I categorize them. There are people who started businesses from scratch with nothing, building from nothing to something. And there are people who started businesses. They found a business that is already working. They bought themselves a space into getting into that business. And when you listen to those people, they will advise you that get into business so that you can be your own boss and be free. But when you listen to people who started a business from scratch, it's another different story. And one thing that I've came to realize about these two categories of people is that the people who built a business from scratch, in the vocabulary of their communication, it is always about taking everything one step at a time, moving from one point to the next point. They're always thinking about that next moment, that next movement, that next puzzle, that next stage of the business. And the people who just bought business, they don't care about the next stage of the business, because they've just bought themselves into the business. They got the business that is doing well, a business that got a system that is already operating, and they got into that system. It's like somebody who just bought shares. That person doesn't know what it takes to build a business. And when they get the money, they're just going to flash it. They're just going to live that social media lifestyle, that happy lifestyle, that entrepreneurial lifestyle. And when we look up to them, we think that entrepreneurial journey, it's something that is easy. But when you start a business from nothing, you start to realize that the entrepreneurial journey, it's something different. It's hard. You just have to take one thing a step at a time, building a business based on the reality of the market, not based on what you want. Because of a lot of us, we start businesses. When we hit challenges, we give up too fast. Because we got into the business journey with the mindset of it's going to be easy, with the mindset of I want to be my own boss. That's why when you look into social media, the people who post constantly on social media about the beauty of the entrepreneurial journey are the people who just bought businesses, are the people who got into business that are already operating. Because of the business is already making money. You're not going to stress as to how do I make money? How do I scale the business? But the person who started the business from scratch, when you get into their social media, and by the way, others don't even have a social media. I was so surprised to find that in South Africa, we have multi-millionaires. We have billionaires in South Africa who don't even have a social media page. And I started to ask myself, how is this possible? And I started to realize that it is possible because of those people. They are not concerned about how they look on social media. They are not concerned about how they look in society. They are concerned about building a sustainable business, building a business that will outgrow them, building a business that solves a problem in the market. That's why they don't have time to be on social media. Others, those who have social media presence, everything that is on social media, it is also about their business. There's no personal life on social media. So when we go about venturing into the journey of entrepreneurship, we just have to realize, who are you looking up to? Are you looking up to someone who started a business from scratch to teach you what it takes to build a business? Or are you going to start a business looking up to someone who bought a business, who got into a business that is already operating? And that person, there's nothing that they're going to teach you because they've already got the business operating. They don't even have any knowledge of how to set up an operational plan of the business, how to scale the business to grow. So given the illusion of starting your business and being your own boss, it is the same thing that makes a lot of people to give up when they come across challenges in the business journey. It is the reason why people a lot of people find it difficult to build their businesses, to scale their businesses, to build their businesses to a point that the business outgrow them. And another point is that we've been taught that when you grow up and be independent, we will have everything figured out. We will have our life figured out. And that's why we are building our life based on an illusion that drives us to depression. And one of the reasons, amongst other reasons, that makes us as young people to live in depression is because we want to have our life figured out. But the reality is that there's no such thing as having it figured out. But because we are so clouded by the illusion of freedom, we continue to lie to ourselves that one day I'm going to have my life figured out. And in my success journey, I have come to realize that each and every person is fighting their own battle. And it's just a matter of who are you looking up to realize that fact. There are so many people out there who are living a lie. So many people who are faking their reality. And I talk about this. I just can't stop talking about this because I see a lot of us as young people, we stress ourselves that we want to have life figured out. We beat ourselves up, we punish ourselves up because we are still struggling to figure out our life. And the reality is that there's no such thing as having your life figured out. And it is recently where I started to realize that, and it came to my awareness that, in fact, for as long as we are still living in this world, for as long as you wake up in the morning, breathe, go about living your day, you just have to take each and every day one step at a time. You are fighting for something. You are fighting to build something, or you are fighting to get away from a certain problem. So when saying that you have your life figured out, I think it will just be an illusion. Because you can say that I have my life figured out. I've got a beautiful business. I've got a beautiful family. My life is well set. Boom, the market changes. The business die. Now you have to go back and stress about starting a business from scratch, how to restructure your business, how to scale your business again, how to adapt to a new change. So the thing about life is life change, things change, people change, and circumstances change. But we just have to realize that as to who we relate to. Sometimes we relate ourselves to the wrong people. That's why we have the wrong perspective about life. And if you know that life is changing, people are changing, things are changing, then you're going to realize that there's no such thing as having it all figured out. Because out of just anything, people can change, life can change, and you just have to start from scratch, or you just have to adapt to a new change. And you are going to be under an intense depression when things change because you were thinking that you've got your life figured out. But immediately when you know that there's no such thing as having it all figured out, you're going to accept when there's a certain change in life. You're going to make it okay when there's a certain change in life. Because of the reason, one of the biggest reasons why it's difficult to deal with change, it is because we want to have our life figured out. It's because we are denying and resisting change as it comes. We find it difficult to adapt to a new change. Reason being, we are being given and being taught the illusion of freedom, that you're going to be free, that your life is going to be set, that you're going to have everything figured out in your life. But the reality of life is that we all have our own different battles and struggles that we are fighting each and every day. And if you can realize that, you're going to stop being in depression, stop beating up yourself. Because if you can check all of our podcasts, the interviews that we have that we had with different people, one thing that is similar that I found, the similar thing and the common thing that I found in each and every conversation is that each and every person had to go through a certain struggle, had to go through a certain challenges that were difficult, but they had to go through them so that they can be where they are in life. And one thing that I've realized about so many of us, we lack knowledge that in life we just have to go through a certain struggle to build our life how we want it to be. Because of with the illusion of freedom, we thought that life is going to be simple, and right now we just realized that life is difficult. We are facing our own struggles. We are facing our own battles. That's why we battle with stress and depression as to why is life so difficult. Reason being, we are being given the illusion of freedom, being taught that life is going to be easy. That's why so many of us, we find it difficult when there's a moment of change in our life, solely because of the mindset we have about the idea of freedom and the illusion of freedom that we've been taught. And one thing I've recognized about our generation is that we are already aware that that a lot of things that we've been taught no longer relate to the reality of life that we live in and the time that we live in. And I'm saying this because of I've seen how our daily topics, the things that we talk about on daily basis, are about most of the things that our parents taught us about life no longer relate to the time we live in, no longer fits to the time we live in. And I'm saying this again because I've had the privilege to host a gender-based violence dialogue at my work, which is Alituke Community Care Center. So we had a 2 weeks event, which is holding the dialogue for gender-based violence to kind of talk about what is gender-based violence, to understand what influences gender-based violence, and to also understand some of the wave out of this gender-based violence that we are facing. Because of right now, as we speak, our country, South Africa, is facing gender-based violence at its highest peak. And during our dialogue, some of the things that we were talking about was that how it is difficult to try and navigate our lives in the time we live in, how it is difficult to have our life figured out, how it is difficult to get employed and be free. And you know, the first dialogue was about parents, which are elderly people, and the second week we had a dialogue with youth. So during the dialogue of youth, the following week, it was on the 30th of March. I've heard how so many of us as youth, we talked about how difficult life is because of our parents taught us to go to school so that we can have the privilege to actually be able to build our life and get jobs. Because of back in the days of our parents, of our grandparents, a lot of them, they didn't have the privilege to go to school. Others have the privilege to go to school, and as a result, those who didn't have the privilege to go to school, they battled with the difficulty of life. Some of them, they found it difficult to be successful, while those who went to school were able to succeed in life and do well in life. And it is our parents, those who didn't go to school, those who went through certain struggle in life as to building their lives to be successful. They taught us that our child should go to school so that they can be educated and get jobs so that their life can be easy for them. And right now, we are their child. We went to school, we did well in school, we furthered our studies, and right now it's difficult to get jobs because of most of the topic that we talk about. In a scale of 1 to 10, in 7, I would say that lack of unemployment, it is one of the challenges, one of the hot topic that we talk about in this day and age, in our generation. And I'm glad because of we are talking about these things. We are talking about how the things that our parents taught us are no longer relate to the reality we live in. Because I'm saying this because I'm actually foreseeing us being able to figure out the solution out of the difficult challenges that we go through, because of the more we talk about them, the more we are able to figure out the solutions out of these challenges that we go through. And during the dialogue, as we got to the end of the dialogue, we were talking about the way forward as to how are we going to deal with the challenges that we are going through. And gender-based violence, it is actually influenced by unemployment, which is unemployment is driving us to poverty, and poverty is driving us to actually engage ourselves to the things that expose us to gender-based violence. And as we were sitting talking about a way forward, the possible solutions, I actually questioned some of the elderly people who were there to navigate the conversation. I said that I think the way forward right now is for us as young people to have a serious conversation with our parents, to ask them that, number one, why did you teach us the things that you taught us? What influenced you as our parents to teach us those things? And to ask ourselves, to come back to this moment and ask ourselves that, why are the advices of our parents not working? And what makes those advices to not work in the time we live in? And I think the answer to that is very simple. Their advices are not working because of times have changed. The world we live in, it's no longer the same as the world that our parents lived in. And there's a beautiful book that I read by the book, it's Storm Warming by Billy Graham. And there's a statement that Billy Graham made in that book that says each and every generation is going through its own struggles, and each and every generation has to actually cope with the struggles and the challenges that they are going through until they free them from the challenges they go through. And with us, so many young people talking about why the advices that our parents gave us no longer work in our reality. I think this should be a wake-up call to say that wake up and start to recognize that time have changed, life have changed, things have changed. Now it's time to do self-introspection, to take an overview of our life, restructure our lives, and restructure the things that we want to achieve. Because of we have set our goals and the things that we want to achieve based on the things that our parents have taught us. And now it is becoming difficult to achieve our goals, to achieve those goals that we've been set based on the ideas and the advices that our parents have given us. And to come back to say, let's learn about this new world. Let's learn about this new time. Let's learn about this new era, to say, how is this world right now? How is it operating right now? What kind of goals can we set that fit to this reality of life? And this brings me to the most interesting thing and the most important thing about life. I think in life we need to start differentiating between the things that matters to the things that don't matter. Let us start doing the things that are necessary and not the things that are not necessary. Most of the time we are so stressed, we are so depressed, we are so overwhelmed because of we are focused on doing the things that are not necessary. But if we focus on the things that are necessary, we are going to help ourselves to actually free ourselves from the illusion of freedom that we are being given by our parents, because of this life changes. Things change, and we need to look at our lives to say that what can we do in this time? How can we shape our lives to fit into the era that we live in? Friends, this is what we had for you this week on the Unpacked Show podcast, unpacking the challenges we come across as we go about building and improving our lives. Do share your thoughts on the comment section, and feel free to send those voice notes, because we love it so much. Because this podcast, it's not about us sharing the information and the topic we talk about each and every week, but it is also about you engaging with us on the topics we talk about every single week. Until we meet on the next episode, be blessed, be healthy, and as my role model Vusi Tembekwayo once said, have the spirit of the underdog. Goodbye.